Fantastic. Thank you for joining me. I'm Mairead O'Connor. I'm a delivery manager at Equal Experts. Tonight I am going to use the metaphor of childhood and adolescence to explore some common challenges faced by early stage products and companies and teams. I'm going to do that through the medium of very cheesy stock photography and really bad acting, so you're in for a treat. We quite often find ourselves in a position of working with clients that seem quite immature and just going, oh, it's not fair, I don't want to do that, it's boring. And we're the nagging parents telling them that they've got to tidy their room and do all of that important stuff that they just don't really want to do. Is there more that we can do to be more understanding of them, have a bit more empathy, have a bit more respect for them at their stage in their life, so that we can give them the best possible advice? Let's start at the beginning. So, at the very beginning, babies are absolutely useless, really. But, you've got to start somewhere. And there's bloody loads of these. They get born all the time. And, there's baby companies being born all the time, even more so when the conditions are friendly for new businesses. So if there's access to credit, if there's new technologies, access to resources, you get lots of companies born. And there's not really much oversight to do this. Same as if you have a child, you don't need permission to have a child. The government cares that you're not going to kill it and do anything illegal, and just checking that you're not abusive with it. But basically, you're on your own, and you've got to figure it out for yourself. If you're lucky, you've got a co-parent or a co-founder. Single parents manage it, God knows how, but you don't have much help around you. And for the sake of my metaphor, let's imagine we're at a time with lots of infant mortality, because let's face it, a lot of these baby companies are not going to survive. And some of them growing up in poverty. It's very, very hard for a child to thrive in poverty if it hasn't got enough to eat. But it doesn't mean that growing up rich guarantees success either. You see this in businesses as well as in those trust fund kids that end up in rehab. That if you've got too much money and not enough discipline, you can be like the startup that I worked at that spent, like easily a year, just sitting around and thinking about what their product should be and iterating and reiterating and rewriting before they ever got close to any customer. Turns out customers didn't care about the product that they'd built. And so this spoilt child that had been coddled and given every resource that it could possibly have ended up making essentially no impact on the world. There's also another client that I've worked at, and some of you have as well, where this was a big company parent, loads of money, wanted to start a new product and treat it as a startup and gave it everything, absolutely everything. Sent it around the world, sent it to Swiss finishing school. Ended up making something really weird that just wasn't understandable by any normal person. That was a complete waste of time as well. Babies don't stay as babies for very long. They're learning and they're developing new skills and they're starting to be able to do a bit more by themselves. But they still need a lot of support while they are exploring their product market fit and making early attempts at monetization. And these early monetization attempts, they're a bit naive, but it's a step along the way for them learning about the skills they're going to need when they're a grown-up. Because there's lots of skills that they need to learn. And they're going to need help to learn it. They're wanting to ride the bike. We as consultants, we can be coaching people in skills that they don't yet have. And we can give them advice about how best to develop those skills. So rather than jumping straight into riding the bike unaided, we can put stabilizers on the bike. So maybe this is a team that is immature, maybe they don't know each other very well, they maybe haven't used agile methods. Maybe we're going to put the stabilizers on and put a really strict Scrum process in place for that team. It's a bit rigid, it's a bit constraining, nobody really likes riding with stabilizers on, it doesn't feel natural. But it gets the kid used to the principle about being on a bike. They are getting used to the movements, they're starting to move in the right direction. And then when they get really comfortable about riding their stabilizers, then you can start taking the stabilizers off. And our key skill as a consultant is to decide when to do that, when to give them the chance to start trying things on their own. And we're the parent that's holding onto the bicycle seat and running along beside them while they make their first attempts at riding the bike on their own. And then deciding when to hold on and when to let go. There'll be wobbles, there'll be falls, there'll be grazed knees and bruises, there'll be tears, but it's part of their learning experience to do it by themselves. Because we're not there to just show them how to do it. We know how to ride the bike. It's not for us to show off how great we are at riding this bike and leaving the kids sat on the step watching us. We've got to let them get on the bike and try it for themselves. We also need to advise the right tools. So we've just learned how to ride this bike. We're not going to leap straight to this, even though the kid might be like, yeah, I know what this is. I'm going to have that. I'm going to ride this. It's not appropriate at this stage. It's also not appropriate for us to say, well, the last team I was on, it was really high performing. We had it just so. It was awesome. We're going to do it just like that here. It's not appropriate for the level of maturity for this new team. They're not ready for it. They need to build up to it. So as the company grows, it changes. It starts to grow out of these clothes. Things that used to be all right, they don't fit anymore. So maybe in the early stages, all of the accounts were done on a spreadsheet somewhere. And now it's time to have some proper accounting systems. Shout out to anyone in EE Finance who will be feeling that. And you know, things that used to be really important, so features that you'd worked really hard to develop in the early days, they're not what you need anymore, and you've got to pull those out to make room for the new ones that are going to last you at this new stage in your life. Because more changes are to come. When you start hitting the teenage years, there's a lot of new experiences and new pressures in life, and this is the stage where you start really getting out there into the world and meeting your friends and trying things out and exploring your identity, and you know, fashion starts to become really important, and things that used to be okay, they aren't anymore. So you know, the kids go into their dad and are like, I can't wear those clothes, Dad. I can't go to the conference wearing that. Nobody will take me seriously with this monolithic architecture. It's so uncool. Everybody else has got microservices, Dad. I need microservices too. Well, have you thought, what's your business reasons for it? I haven't got any business reasons, just everybody's doing it. And I expect you'll want a lot of money for that as well. Probably. And yeah, probably there are lots of repair bills as well, because it'll probably always have holes in and be falling to bits. And when you go to big school, there's new people that you're going to meet. You're going to have new friends, and you're mixing in a bigger circle. And your team is growing. You've got a much bigger social circle. You've got more people joining your company. And you've got to make some choices about who your friend's going to be. So you're hiring for this company, and so I'm saying, so you look like you've got a lot more people in your team now. How did you meet them? Oh, they're all the kids from my school. Yeah, we're all in the same class together. Okay, so how did you choose these as the right people to be in your company? Well, I made sure that we all have the same shoes, and we like the same music, and we like the same films. Are you sure that's the most important reason for hiring them to this company? Well, yeah, I mean, otherwise, what are we going to talk about at lunch? Because there are more important things when hiring for a team than what to talk about at lunch. And so this company that's trying out some new identities. This might be a bit uncomfortable for people that knew it at an earlier stage of its life, and might feel like they just don't really understand what it is anymore. So somebody that's been part of this company since the very beginning is now looking around going, well, I just don't really understand where I fit in here anymore. and maybe this isn't the right place for me anymore. I don't understand it. And the parents, maybe this, not that it's the kid's fault, but say the parents have got divorced. So this is like when a founder leaves. Maybe there's somebody new comes into the company, and then this kid is going like, you can't tell me what to do. You're not my real dad. I'm not going to do that. And then he says, well, I can tell you what to do because I'm paying the bills, and you will switch from Gmail to Office 365 if I tell you to. So this company is in big school now. So it's got a whole lot of new subjects that it needs to learn about. So when it was little, just needed to be thinking about technology and product and design and not a whole lot more. Get those basics right. But now that they're a bit more grown up, we're asking them to learn about sales, marketing, finance, legal, HR, all sorts of things that they've never really thought about anymore. And she seems to be struggling a little bit with it, as lots of companies do. But there are things that the teenager is learning from themselves, and building their own knowledge that maybe we don't know. So I don't know if you've ever tried talking about pop music with a teenager recently. I don't recommend it. You'll feel really old. But because you'll think that, like, so, yeah, have you heard the new Radiohead song? And they're like, well, yeah, but have you heard about this thing? You're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And it can be a bit like this, talking about technology. And you can be like, so I hear you like JavaScript. And like, yeah, I'm really into Backbone and Ember and this other one, but you probably never heard of it. And then you're like, okay, Angular? Well, I suppose so, but like, I liked that last year. But, there's sometimes there's stuff to learn. There's a lot of fads, but it's good to be kept in touch with the fashions as they come along. And then equally, we can bring back some of that knowledge as well, because it turns out the teenagers, they do like Radiohead. Well, apparently. Managing risk is a really big thing that we can help our clients at when they're at this difficult stage, because teenagers take a lot of risks. This is great. I mean, taking risks is what drives progress, and a lot of the advances in science and art and culture of young people that have tried something that's a bit crazy because they never thought that they couldn't do it. This is brilliant. It's also because teenagers are really, really bad at judging risk. But what we can do is to say, well, okay, let's manage this risk. Let's make sure you're wearing your helmet and your knee pads. But let's try this frankly crazy-looking thing and see what happens. So it'd be like saying, I want to do a product for, I don't know, small business, social networking in the West Midlands. You go, okay, I'm not really sure about that, but have you done market research? Yeah, I've done loads of market research. I've looked. There's a similar thing in Scotland. I'm going to follow that pattern. I'm going to try this thing, and I've done my homework. I've protected myself, and I think that this is a safe risk to take. Okay, go for it. Might not work, but you're all right. I think she's all right, and you can pick yourself up and learn from that experience and try again and try doing that trick. This is great. This is good risk taking. We can make sure that those risks are safe risks and that they can learn from them. That's the best service that we can give to people. Some risks are just stupid risks, and we can ideally be trying to stop them taking risks that aren't good for them, or thinking that they can get away with something that maybe other people can't, or just do things that aren't well thought through. So, instead of a well-researched thing, maybe it's I want to do Uber for private planes. That sounds cool. Everyone's doing that. I think I actually met somebody who was doing that, and I still think it's a stupid idea. But to follow on through something just because it's cool. I mean, Groupon was the cool thing for a while, and it's gone rather quiet now. And then the next stage is risks that'll get yourself killed or arrested. And whatever the hell they're doing. The example I'm thinking of is Zenefits, so that company that provides business software in the States. They were making their money from selling insurance, but they got found out for using completely unlicensed brokers selling insurance, and they are in so much trouble now. And the company probably won't survive, and they certainly, so them and Groupon, looked like they were going to be the adults that would take over the world. And now, they look like those kids that were in school that were so cool, and you never hear about them now because they still live with their mum and dad and they work in a fast food place. And they showed such promise. Being a grown-up means doing stuff you don't want to do. Saying, Mum, can I go out and play with this cool new open source project that I saw? Not until you finish your stories. I have finished my stories. Have you really finished your stories? Yeah. Have you done your unit tests? No. Have you done your integration tests? No. Have you done your code review? No. Well, you're not done yet, are you? Don't tell me you're done when you know you're not. I don't want to refactor that. I didn't even write this thing. Why do I have to tidy it up? It's so unfair. I'll just finish this first, and then I'll deal with that bit of technical debt over there. I've just got to finish this first. I'll do it later. I promise. I'll do it later. I don't want to fill out my timesheet. Flipping back to the dishes, the technical debt thing it's just like every shared house that you've ever seen of a student, that every teacup that gets added to that just makes it a little bit worse. And nobody is washing those dishes because, well, I didn't put the teacup there. That's not my dishes. I'm just going to leave them. Somebody else will deal with that. And it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And it just ends up in a fetid, stinking, horrible thing. Nobody wants to go near that bit of the code base. It's terrifying. Frankly, let's just burn the house down and move because it's easier than dealing with those dishes. And I'm sure we've seen code bases like that. Teenagers are notoriously bad at time management and prioritization. I'm imagining that many of us have stayed up late before an exam or a deadline before as teenagers, maybe as adults, but teenagers particularly bad at this. They're not good at prioritization. So let's ask our child. So what are you doing up so late? Oh God, we agreed a deal with a major client to deliver a new marketing microsite. It's due tomorrow. Could you not have started this a bit earlier? I was busy doing what? I was busy refactoring the code base to use camel case instead of underscores. Was that really more important? I suppose not. I'll learn for next time. I hope so. Teenagers have an insatiable appetite for money. There's always something that they're wanting, and they can't pay for it all themselves. So they've got that lemonade stall. It's bringing in a bit of money. Maybe by this point they're a bit more grown up, and their revenue earning is getting better, but they still can't pay their way. They can buy themselves some treats now and then, but they're not paying for their food and board. They're still relying on somebody else to do. So whether that's a parent company or venture capitals or somebody of that, they're still entirely dependent on somebody else to get by. But ideally, by the time they get a bit older, they can show that they are responsible and worthy of being in charge of greater amounts of money with less oversight. So if you have passed your driving test and demonstrated that you're responsible and you've done those dishes that you were supposed to do, then Mum will let you take the car out. She will expect you to bring it back. I think if you're VC funded, you're expected to bring 99 other cars as well. I think that's how VC works. Teenagers are not good at handling conflict. There's always something that they're getting angry about, something that seems relatively unimportant, and seeing the drama and crisis in everything, and shouting, "Oh, I hate living here, it's so boring, I hate living here." why don't we live in Shoreditch? That's where everybody cool is. Or San Francisco, God, I hate it here. I'm going to move out. I'm going to run away. Then you'll learn. Then you'll be sorry. I remember in a company having an argument that went on, I think, for 6 months about what a book is. Just generally, what is a book? Meanwhile, we had no product, we had no customers, we had no business, but we were really, really diving in on that philosophical question and fighting about something that was just so unimportant. And when in the midst of all this fighting, it's quite hard to understand why it's important to focus on that new thing. And teenagers will get distracted by this, the new infatuation in their life, this thing that's suddenly really important, and things that they're interested in last week. It's just not that big a deal anymore. We've been struggling with a client where their original product, the thing that made them famous, the thing that their customers love, it's getting neglected, frankly, because they're so focused on the new stuff, the new unproven thing that they think is going to be so exciting. And they're just not looking at the core. And it's proven quite difficult to get them to remember why they cared in the first place about the other things. And it is still an important part of their life. That's still a work in progress. But hopefully, our company is growing up. It has reached a maturity. It has reached some milestones in its life. It has passed its exams, and it's now in a position where it's got lots of choices. So is it going to IPO? Is there going to be somebody going to buy them? Are there going to be lots of people that want to buy them? It's a very, very exciting time, but it's also quite a risky time. And it's a time when they're still quite vulnerable. There will be older people that will be ready to take advantage of this still quite naive company and make them offers that aren't necessarily in their best interests. Maybe this deal where we're going to buy you, and it's going to be this, we're going to give you all these opportunities. Maybe what they actually intend to do is shut the whole thing down. It's important that they don't rush into the first relationship that comes along and settle down too quickly and limit their horizons. So in this parental role, trying to encourage them to wait until they've got a few more options and weigh up what they really want from the future is really important, and probably something that they'll get really shouty about and say, "Oh, it's none of your business. I'm not going to talk to you about that." But we can try. We can try. But eventually, they're going to move out. They're going to move on. They are going to go out into the world and be responsible for themselves. It's great. We should be proud of them. They're standing on their own 2 feet, and hopefully they'll not, fall off a balcony at their dorm room. And we'll send them on the next stage of their life. But we still probably won't expect that they'll tidy their room. I'm going to leave it there and say, remember that we were all teenagers once. These people are probably mostly dead now, but they were teenagers once. And, look at them, their energy, their excitement, their stupidity. It's heartwarming. It's heartwarming to see that throughout the ages, throughout the generations, we were all stupid teenagers, and most of us are all right as adults. And that can give us all hope. Hurrah. Thank you.